Good high noon. It's 11:30 a.m. I'm a little bit early for my high noon show, but I'm going to go with it right now. I'm going to discuss, well, first of all, my name is John G. Presko. I ran the primary for governor of Oregon as a Republican. I did not win. I received about 170 votes, which I'm very happy for. Could have been worse. Could have just been one vote, my vote. Um, Today's June 10th. On June 9th, they had the first hearing on the June 6th insurrection. I can consider it even more than that. We'll talk about it. I got this letter on the 8th from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And I called them up yesterday because I was having trouble complying with what they wanted from me. And I was fined actually $10 a day. And I was told I owe them $1,000 or more for not complying with some rules and regulations for running for office. Wow. I didn't know this was going on. They tried to reach me by email and leaving messages on the phone. I never did pick up when they called me. Otherwise, I would have been able to do something a while back. I'm overwhelmed with emails. And if I see something with GOV on it, I pretty much ignore it because there's so many imposters and fakes out there that disguise themselves as agents for the government, but they're trying to get something from you, especially when it comes to Medicare and Medi-Cal, things like that. They act like they're the official government, and you better open up their email and go for their good deal that they got for you. You get them in my snail mail through the U.S. Post Office, and that's when I got this. And they were leaving messages on my phone, and I don't know how to get to them. I did learn when I got this phone over a year ago, but I forgot. So I'm going to go through that process with you to prove I'm not a liar. I really don't know how to get messages. And anyway, let's, I guess, discuss what they wanted from me. So open this up. Because this is an important document. Because it relates to the hearings yesterday. Government Ethics Commission, Pringle Road, Southeast, Salem, Oregon. Dear Mr. Presko, we are writing because we have not received any response from you after sending email notifications and leaving telephone messages for you at the email address and telephone number listed in your electronic filing system, EFS account. Oregon law, OR, blah, 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 specifically identifies candidates for certain positions who are required to complete and file an annual verified statement of economic interest with the Oregon Government's Ethics Commission. You are registered in the Commission's EFS as a candidate for one of the specified positions, and you are therefore required to file a SEI. An email was sent to you on March 15th, stating that you were required to report was due to be filed with the Commission no later than April 15th. I didn't know. And I don't recall running across this. I could have missed it when I was filling out uh, the required information so I could get up, the official candidate. And I don't ever recall them asking for this. Your report has not yet been successfully filed. Penalties are occurring at the rate of $10 per day for the first 14 days and $50 per day thereafter until the filing is made or the maximum of 5,000 is reached. Jeez. Got this 2 days ago. Like, whoa, you know. So, here I am being penalized for running for office. And so I called up because I was having trouble getting on, and lucky I lucked out. The male that answered said, "Hey, I'll help you complete this. We can do this verbally." And we did. And he says, "I'm going to go before the commission, which is made up of 9 people when we meet next, and get this absolved. You will not be fined any money. You will not be penalized for late registration. Just send me an email," which I did, stating why you didn't, comply. And I said, basically, I don't have a secretary or wife to help me with my emails. I don't know how to get to my phone messages. And I rely upon the post office, and my mailbox delivery system to be the main source of communication with the outside world. I guess when it comes to people I don't know, an official business is done through the mail. So finally, they did send the letter. They sent this letter back in March, rather than rely upon email and cell phones. So I'm 75, and basically that's not the primary way I communicate with official business. Okay, so in watching the hearings last night, this question came to me, and I finally was able to formulate it this morning when I blogged on Roy Rosemont Press. We heard the testament of Barr and other people saying that they rejected the President of the United States' suggestion that they declare the elections null and void and Trump the winner. Okay. Well, according to what we've heard so far, they all objected. Oh, no, that's a terrible idea. Well, is it true? That was the question that came. Does Trump really believe that the election was stolen from him? And should he be asked this question? Should the former president of the United States appear before the January 6th committee and get it for the record? Yes, I do believe that the Democrats stole the election, and all the votes, the 80 million votes of the Democrats, are null and void. They're all in vain because Democratic leadership is corrupt and unethical, and they stole the election from me. I am the rightful president of the United States. Boom. That's called history, folks. And history has its own ethics to follow, as does religion and philosophy. We'll look at the definition of it because the question of ethics by the Republican Party toward, in this destruction of American history. I declared American history dead because we are a democracy founded by very ethical men who kept ethics as being the most important part of writing a constitution. How to maintain the best ethical political system on earth. And if you take away ethics, what do you have? Do you have a religious nationalism? No, I don't know how Christianity or any religion can survive without ethics. So I declared Christianity dead in America because ethics are non-existent. There's no penalty, there's no truth or consequences for unethical behavior. I was fined by apparently being unethical by not filing my source of income. They wanted to know, what do I do for a living? Where do I get my money? And apparently, when I filed to run for office, I agreed to disclose that. And there's problems with Donald Trump ethically disclosing his income. And what we're getting in place. So here's the question. Here's the main question. We've heard from members of his cabinet's daughter, William Barr, that Donald Trump was told that he didn't have any grounds to declare election fraud and therefore take the presidency from President Joe Biden and give it to himself. You couldn't get anybody else to do this, declare him the president. Okay, that's fine, such as it is. But someone had to ask this question. And I keep repeating this question. I'm going to really launch this question out there. And I'm just formulating it. I've got to get it down because it's really important for all of us. Did anybody around Trump who he wanted to employ to overturn the elections ever suggest that this would cause a insurrection by the Democrats? They would rise up, as would any group of people, even in a dictatorship, and use arms to get back their rightful chosen leader. Because Joe Biden would be the real victim, and the Democrats that voted for him, in the idea of a stolen election. Not Donald Trump, not the Republican Party. Let that sink in. We're talking about civil war and violence and groups of organized men taking up arms to put Donald Trump and the Republicans out of the White House. Did anybody suggest that this would happen if the election was overturned? Did anybody say, no, even if we could do this, there would be repercussions, there would be consequences, truth and consequences of this that would tear this country apart? So that becomes the real motive, doesn't it? The real motive why people told the President of the United States that if they took action that he was asking them to do to make him the rightful president for the next 4 years, there would be armed revolution in this country. The Democrats would rightfully rise up in rebellion and use force of arms. It's required by the Constitution. If you read it, it says if such a thing happened, then you have an obligation to start the revolution of 1776 all over again. This is the question that's being ignored, and it's unethically being ignored. That the Republicans refuse to really take part, except for Liz Cheney, who understands that American history is in the balance and American religion. Our government, our democracy is based upon ethic principles, and so is the history of Christianity in America. The Republican Party is really saying through their church leaders who have taken over this party that they don't have to deal with the Democrats on any ethical level because the Democrats are unethical. They're for the murder of embryos in the mother's womb. They are for anal sex. They are for women falling in love with each other and being sexual in bed. They are amoral. They are not about morals and ethics. Therefore, we just will ignore them. We will dismiss them. We will not say that any of their angst or concern is valid. Only ethical people can have ethical concerns. There you go. That's where the real destruction of our democracy, of our way of life, our way of worship is destroyed. It really is destroyed. The Republicans are boycotting it. They're not participating in a government, our government, and they're really not participating in the church religion. What they're saying is, we are above your ethical scrutiny. You have no right to use ethics at all in judging us, in looking at us, in questioning us, in demanding answers. You don't deserve any answers. You don't deserve any of our truths, because our truths are so ethical, so much superior, so higher than your lowly ethics, that we have taken the course not to be involved in a democratic government way with you. You're so inferior. In fact, you're probably of Satan. And we, of course, are of God and Jesus Christ. And that's really what's important to keep in mind here. We are born of the divine ethics that is being transmitted to us right now from Jesus Christ sitting on a throne next to God. And he was the most ethical person, deity, that ever walked the earth. And he's only concerned now is cutting everybody that doesn't believe in him off of the standard of ethics that have to be Christian standards, right? Because guess what? Ethics existed before Jesus was born. Human beings were practicing ethics before Jesus was born and Christianity was born. Humanity can be ethical and has been ethical, and has practiced ethics for thousands and thousands of years. It's evolved. These are the meditations and thoughts of Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. I've talked about this book. This is my end of the world book. I've got a backpack packed in my closet, ready to go where? To the woods and fight bear over deer meat? Well, everybody wants to go to the woods. Most of them want to have a Bible with them, and then they'll bring their guns and they'll shoot deer and squirrel, and that's how they're going to live and feed their families. Well, there's only so many squirrels and only so many deer around the woods here in Oregon, and we have a lot of deep, big woods around Oregon. One of the biggest woods of any state in the Union, other than Alaska and Washington. So it's not realistic. It's not a real alternative. They don't want an alternative to their way of ethic and religion. They literally do not. They have already taken steps to eliminate all secular rule and peoples in the United States of Christ. It's still going on, folks. The insurrection is stronger than it was on January the 6th because it's in a cover-up. It's in a massive cover-up. And is it in massive denial? Yes, it's denying Democrats who control the House a rightful obligation to look into unethical behavior. And Donald Trump has exhibited unethical behavior while he was running for president. And Republican leaders, or elected public officials, and leaders of the Christian church ignored the unethical behavior of Donald Trump since he announced he was going to run for the President of the United States on the Republican ticket. So I've run 23 minutes here. You go and look up what ethics means. It's something that we must comply in. And if we're going to have a nation, or Mussolini followed ethics, Hitler followed ethics. The Republican Party had declared ethics are only for Republicans and Christians. That's their declaration, folks. It's made. There's no other conclusion you can make. And their campaign to depict Democrats as immoral, unethical, evil, murderous, a raper of children, pedophiles, and the worst scum of the earth. That's what they're declaring. But you don't hear it unless you have the ears, and you don't read it unless you have the eyes. And I'm going to help you see the Republican Declaration for what it is, to see it in its full-blown ugliness. It's the most hateful declaration that has ever been produced in any nation in the history of the world. That it used God's words and our democracy and our Constitution to arrive at the most vile and evil declaration really, really suggests that Donald Trump is the devil, is Satan himself, and he has followers. And they will take over this democracy if you vote for them in the midterms. Do not vote for any Republican in the midterms, not even me. I became a Republican because my sister married and into the Benton family, and thus I'm kin to John Fremont, a co-founder of the Republican Party. This is my grandfather's ship, the USS Constitution. Sir Isaac Hall sailed on this ship during the Barbary Coast Wars, and he sailed the USS Enterprise. My sister married Garth Benton, the cousin of Thomas Hart Benton, the artist, the grandson of Senator Thomas Hart Benton, the father of Jesse Benton, who married John Fremont. And when I talked to the member of the Ethics Commission, I said, the reason I ran as Republican is because I'm related to John Fremont, the founder. And I felt there should be some traditional representation of what the ethics and, history of the true party is, because people are altering that. And that's the final. This is why I'm so important, is that these unethical insurrectionists, Christian nationalists, that they have a home in the Republican Party is very unethical. And I've asked for them to get out. Get out of my family's party and form your own party. Stop being, well, no, they're not going to stop. They are sheep's in wolf's clothing. Get out. Be ethical for a change. But you're not. You have no ethics. You're devoid of ethics. Therefore, you have no government, and you do not participate in government, and you have no church because you don't participate in a church in ethical ways. You are the most unethical creatures that have ever walked the earth. Get out. This is John G. Presco. I live in Springfield, Oregon.